For more on Europe and everything else that's happening in the world, Saruhan Hatipoglu, CEO of Beri Consulting, joins us back here on the set. Good to see you.
See you too, Phil.
Let's start with Europe, and we'll kind of work our way around the world. We've got some encouraging news, but we've seen this before. I think this year what we've seen is a very mixed picture out of Europe. But on a more, as an optimist would say, is maybe we've turned the corner on Europe, have we not?
Well, I don't think we have. I know you wanted some optimistic news from me this time around, but when you look at the manufacturing data, you see certain improvement, yes, but it's so close to zero to contraction again that we don't know what's going to do the next month. And the same data, which the media and the investors are ignoring, is the service industry activity, which contracted again this month. They're happy because they contracted less than
what would it
they
take
could have.
What would it take to make you happy with the numbers out of Europe?
Okay, look at bank lending. When I see bank lending increase in Europe, I'll be happy. Banks are ready to lend, don't get me wrong. Their bottom line is fine, but they're not trusting the borrower's ability to pay back, so they're not lending. Housing prices, we haven't talked that much about it. The media is not covering that much about it, but they've hit their lowest level in 7-8 years in Europe. And the periphery countries, the debtors, have the most house ownership in their country, so their net wealth value is going down. Consumer demand is going to go down because of that. So we have to improve all of these things. I'm not even mentioning, I mention every time about the fiscal austerity measures and unemployment, but those are extra additional burdens that the Europeans need to deal with.
You want to go east or west?
Let's do east.
All right, so let's head over to China. Let's talk about what Vivi Lin was talking about, the government announcing some new measures. This in conjunction with those weak manufacturing numbers. And this is a cycle we see over and over again in China, is that the numbers get weak, the markets panic. Then the government steps in, they say stuff, they do stuff, they sort of a mini stimulus is what we've called it. And then the market's all happy again. I mean, this is a very odd scenario that we keep doing over and over again. Is the media blowing this out of proportion?
The media, I'll be careful with that comment, but the media wants to see the best in the news that comes out, and they make a big deal out of it because, as Oscar Wilde once said, the basis of optimism is through terror, right? They're looking at all these data. There's a lot of bad data out there. So when they see something nice that's coming out, they say, okay, this is good for the future. Now, coming to China, though, it's good news in China in that the government took measures not to stimulate investment this time like they did in 2008. No construction, no investments, all consumption. They cut taxes on small businesses. They're making it easier for exporters to export, and they're including private sector. There are plans to include private sectors in their infrastructure.
Is this enough? Is it going to be quiet time for a bit to let everybody digest the news?
Yeah, I think so. We talked about this before. We called soft landing in China at Beri. We're still sticking by it. The government is taking the right measures to assure soft landing. I think the market is very concerned about the actual growth rates. 7.5, 7.3, 7.0, these are okay numbers. Rebalancing is what's happening in China. They start from a low base. Their GDP, of course, was double digits earlier, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It's going to slow down.
You're not worried at all about China?
I didn't say that. I'm worried not as much as a lot of analysts are making it to be.
Okay. Let's keep moving on. The United States, we had those housing numbers earlier. Fairly impressive. I guess the top line numbers would say that new home sales numbers, that people are buying new homes, but I suspect there's a but to this.
You're right. There's a but to this, but there's a less of a but than before because there are great numbers in the U.S. Construction spending in May was highest in 3 years. Consumer spending is up. Bank lending, revolving, non-revolving credits, both are increasing. But real GDP numbers, you know this, they were revised from 2.4 to 1.8%. Consumer sentiments are still iffy. And Mr. Bernanke, what he's going to do in the next couple of months is very key as to what's going to happen in the United States.
One of these days, you're going to be happy with all three parts of the world.
I'm closer to it than before.
Thank you very much. Good to have you on the show.